The storm came without warning, dragging the sky down upon the valley like a dark, swollen curtain. The air grew heavy, the trees bowed, and the distant hills dissolved into shadow. By the time the traveler reached the crooked path that led to the farmhouse, the heavens had already split open. Rain lashed against the earth in furious sheets, and thunder rolled like some immense creature awakening from a century of slumber. The traveler's lantern sputtered, its flame trembling against the wind. He saw the house then, a hunched silhouette with windows that glowed faintly, like tired eyes unwilling to close. Desperate for shelter, he stumbled through the mud, his boots sinking with each step. Lightning tore across the sky, revealing the outline of the farmhouse more clearly. Its walls blistered, its roof sagging, its door half open, as if expecting him. He pushed through the threshold, and the air changed at once. The howl of the storm was muffled, replaced by a thick, uneasy silence. The air smelled of rot and damp earth, as though the house itself had been buried and recently unearthed. Water dripped from his coat, forming a small pool on the warped floorboards. He raised his lantern, its weak light pushing back the darkness only a little. The hall stretched before him, narrow and long, lined with doors that leaned crookedly on their hinges. Cobwebs trembled as the wind sighed through unseen cracks. He called out once, his voice thin and uncertain, but there was no reply. Only the faint sound of rain trickling somewhere within the walls, like breath drawn in secret. He thought the place abandoned and decided to wait out the storm. A low creak stirred the silence, sharp and sudden, like wood shifting under weight. He froze. The sound had come from above him, from the floorboards overhead. He told himself it was the wind, perhaps a branch tossed against the roof. Yet it came again, slower this time, heavier, one step, then another. Someone, or something, was walking upstairs. His breath caught, and the flame in his lantern trembled. He strained to listen, counting the spaces between each step. They moved across the ceiling, unhurried, deliberate, as though pacing the length of the upper corridor. The sound grew clearer, the faint wetness in the tread, like feet leaving marks on soaked boards. A chill rippled through his spine. He wanted to believe it was nothing more than his mind playing tricks in the storm's chaos. But then a sudden crack of lightning illuminated the staircase in front of him. And in that flash, he thought he saw movement, a flicker of something just beyond sight. He blinked, and it was gone. His heart thudded painfully in his chest. Gathering courage, he stepped toward the stairs. Each step groaned beneath his weight, echoing faintly through the hollow house. The lantern shook in his grasp, casting quivering shadows that danced across the walls. The closer he came to the landing, the colder the air grew. The smell changed too, thick with something metallic, like the tang of rust or dried blood. He reached the top, and the floorboards there felt damp under his boots. The corridor stretched into darkness, lined with doors on either side. The thunder outside cracked again, its light spilling briefly through a window at the far end. For a moment, he saw the pattern of footprints, dark and wet, leading down the hall and vanishing into the last room. His mouth went dry. He turned his lantern toward the nearest door and gently pushed it open. The hinges screamed, and a gust of cold air brushed his face. The room beyond was empty save for a broken chair and a mirror propped against the wall. He stepped closer, the lantern's glow catching his reflection, pale and drawn, eyes wide with unease. Behind him, something shifted. He spun around, the flame swaying wildly. The corridor stood empty, but the footprints, those dark, wet impressions, had changed direction. They were now leading toward him. A distant thunderclap shook the house, and dust fell from the ceiling. He stepped backward into the room, his hand gripping the lantern so tightly his knuckles whitened. The air pressed against him dense and heavy. He could hear it again, the slow, deliberate steps, but this time they were in perfect rhythm with his heartbeat. One step echoed after each pulse, drawing closer, steady and patient. The wind outside shrieked, rattling the glass. He whispered something, perhaps a prayer, perhaps his own name, but his voice was swallowed by the storm. A sudden flash of lightning filled the room, and for an instant the mirror blazed with light. He saw something within it, a shape that mirrored his posture, his lantern, his fear. But it moved first. It lifted its arm before he did, tilted its head before his own muscles obeyed. The thunder roared, shaking the house to its bones. He stumbled backward, the lantern falling from his hand and shattering against the floor. Darkness surged in, thick and suffocating. He could hear breathing now, close, almost at his ear. The sound was wet, rasping, as though drawn from lungs long unused. He dared not move. Somewhere deep in the house, a door slammed shut. The lightning came again, slicing through the dark. And in that brief illumination, he saw the reflection once more. But not his. The figure in the glass was closer, clearer, its eyes hollow and glistening, its mouth curved into something that might have been a smile or a wound. It reached out, its fingers stretching toward the surface as if pressing through from the other side. He turned to flee, stumbling into the hallway, his boots sliding on the wet boards. The storm outside howled louder than ever, its fury shaking the windows. Behind him, he heard the mirror crack, not once, but over and over, like bones snapping beneath weight. He ran down the stairs, heart pounding, lantern forgotten. The front door loomed ahead, swinging open and shut with each gust of wind. As he reached it, lightning lit the hall, and for a split second, he saw muddy footprints leading down behind him. One set, wet and heavy, and another lighter, newer, matching each of his steps but a fraction ahead. He froze. The thunder rolled again, and the door slammed shut before he could reach it. The house groaned, the wind moaned through the cracks, and he felt the floorboards shift beneath his feet. He dared to look down. The last footprint appeared at his toes, facing him. He didn't scream. The sound was torn from him by the next crash of thunder, his voice lost in the storm. The farmhouse trembled as lightning struck the chimney, and the roof gave a low, dying creak. In the valley below, no one saw the flash. No one heard the shattering of glass or the splitting of wood. When the storm finally passed, the house stood silent again, its windows dark, its doors still ajar. The air inside was calm, the floors clean, no footprints, no puddles, no sign that anyone had ever sought shelter there. Yet when the next storm rolled across the valley and lightning flickered over the old farmhouse, the upper window shone faintly once more, like an eye that refused to close.